Hi, everybody. This is Imran Amed, founder and CEO of the Business of Fashion. I'm here for our latest episode of BOF Live. And today we have a very, very special guest. Maria Sharapova is one of the world's most successful tennis stars who has had an incredible career. And Maria and I got to know each other a little bit last year and have stayed in touch. And recently we connected over Instagram and decided that we'd like to have a little chat as part of the series of events that we've been doing on BOF Live.
Hi, Imran.
Hi, Maria. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing all right despite the unknowns and the circumstances.
Yeah. Are you in Los Angeles?
I am. I'm
Okay.
in sunny. Today's a sunny day. Well, most days are sunny, but today's a very sunny day over here.
And how have you been spending your time?
Well, I've been trying to form some type of routine in this new normal. I find myself being a homebody. So I think compared to most, I'm better at adapting to these circumstances because so much of like my entire career was about resting and recovering. And when I wasn't traveling and when I would be home, like the only thing I'd want to be doing is staying put and making my own food in the kitchen and being with my parents. And, I recently retired a couple of months ago, and I was, I think my perspective, or at least mentally, like I was ready to take on a new challenge, like right now, right here. And mentally, I was so prepared for it. But then having this time to just reassess and think of the future, but meanwhile, like treating this as almost like a Christmas holiday with my parents, with cooking and taking care of my mind as well, is certainly a shift. But it's a shift that I'm trying to adapt to and think of it as a positive and treat it as a challenge rather than knowing that the way that I treat it now can maybe help me in the future as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think mindset is so important in a situation like this. And, what I've always found so admirable and amazing about athletes, professional athletes.
I think you've turned your,
You
oh,
can
there
hear
we
me?
go.
Yeah.
Now I can.
Okay. I said one of the things that I found so um, impressive about professional athletes is the mindset and kind of resilience that they need to have in order to do what they do. And that's a little bit where I wanted to spend some of our conversation today. I've had, and I'm sure you too, I've had so many messages from young people um, grappling with this kind of situation. And of course, none of us have ever been in this exact kind of situation before where there's a global pandemic and we're all confined to our homes, but many of us all have been in situations where we face challenges and where we have to adapt and we have to find a source of resilience. So I wondered whether you might be able to share some stories with us and some advice with us about tough moments in your life where you had to kind of adapt and be resilient, and just so that we can learn from your
Right.
experience.
Well, I would say the subject of adapting was a huge part of a professional athlete's career. And although a lot of the things were like repetitive in terms of knowing where you were going to play and your schedule, it's very much the same annually. So there are not a lot of surprises there. But no matter how prepared you are for an event, no matter how mentally or physical you're ready to go out there and play, you never know. Like that's why they put the nets up in the morning, and that's why you can be 100 in the world, you can be number one in the world, you can be as confident or as not, and you still have to go out there and you have to perform. And you never know what's going to happen. If you win, you go on to the next round. If you lose, you end up having to reevaluate and adapting to the situation and thinking of the future and where you're going to play next. So although so much of my career was knowing, a lot of it was also completely out of my control. And I take this type of situation in a very similar thought process, because I know that we can all be as well prepared and we can all have the best intentions, but there are things like, and especially in this instance, invisible forces that are so very much out of what we can do or what we've done before. But in the future, I've heard the saying a couple of weeks ago is, and I very much believe in it, is we want to be part of the solution. We don't want to be part of the problem. And facing that right now, recognizing that and saying, yes, there is a problem and how can we be part of the solution was very much what my sport is about. So, I used to treat, when I was younger, like losing was very, very difficult. And
Yeah,
it took so many mental tolls on me um, because by putting in so much work in your life, no matter what it is that you're doing, it's as if you immediately just, these results are guaranteed. And when I would lose, I would start questioning myself. I would start questioning my future. But as I gotten older with more experience and you realize that you're going to lose a lot more than you're going to win, I thought of changing that perspective and thinking, how am I going to treat the moment when I lose? What am I going to think about? How am I going to work with my team in order for when the next time comes around, what will I shift and what will I change? And I do think that these and those situations were character defining. They certainly created a character that, you know, persuaded me to go out there and be fearless. And I'd say maybe the one difference here is that I used to look at the big picture when I made decisions about my career, because it wasn't just about putting one day together or one tournament where I did well. It was really a sequence of success that got you, and consistency that got you far. And I'm sure you can relate to that.
yeah,
It's not just about one result. It's about being consistent. You're going to have your peaks and you're going to have your falls, but the importance is that consistency. So I try to handle this situation slightly differently, because when I think of the big picture, I think a lot of us feel this anxiety and we're scared and mostly of the unknown, because we're all planners, we're all fast
yeah,
paced, and we live in this environment which um, gets us from A to B, and we already know Z, and that's not what we're in today. And so the one shift that I've had to make mentally is think about the short term right now and think about how I can take care of myself and how I can take care of my family and the things that are in my control, because the big picture is not, it doesn't seem like it is that way right now.
yeah.
Know if you agree with that.
No, completely. I mean, I think there's a temptation to go and try to find a way of fixing things or controlling things, or there's a temptation to just obsess and worry about things.
Yeah,
But that's really unproductive when the things you're worrying about are absolutely 100% outside your control, you
right.
know? And so like there's a there's little benefit in focusing on that, you know, where we need to focus our energy is on the things that we can control. So we can control our environments, we can control the habits or routines that we're creating every day that, you know, provide a little structure for us.
Right.
We can control our kind of acting on our intention to connect with other people, which I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure you've found has also been something really unique that's happened. Is all
Yeah.
we all feel so much more connected. So there's things that we can do that can, you know, um, help us to feel better, and then also to always keep in perspective our privilege and our good fortune. You know, for those of us who are
Absolutely.
healthy and safe, and you know have environments in which you know we can isolate ourselves. You know, that's not true for
Exactly.
everybody.
Yeah, and I think communication has been such a big part of this. And I feel like previously our communication was so quick and so swift. And because, and I'm sure you find that as well, we're traveling so much around the world and we have so many projects going on, most of them at the same time. And these meaningful connections are really tough to create because of that. Because when we want to be great at something, it takes time and it takes attention. And so maybe the deep, like the friendships and the personal relationships, that there's a balance, right? We always try to find this work-life balance. And maybe I found that this is an opportunity for me to, when we speak about communication, to have really meaningful talks. And whether it's about your past, whether it's about dreaming of the future, it feels like it's so much more than, hello, how are you? Good to hear from you.
Yeah, it's
And
less
that makes me feel
transactional.
good.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
less transactional. It feels
yeah,
more like the irony of it is that we're all isolated in our homes, but we're connecting more with the people we care
so much
about.
more.
Yeah, which is, I guess, if there's one good thing that's come out of this, it's been that. So,
How do you like working from home?
it's really funny. So when I when I first started writing BOF, I did it from home, and so kind of for the first 6 years, 6 or 7 years, I didn't have an office really. So I spent a lot of time working from home, and in a way, it's been like a full circle moment. So I remember when we first got an office, one of the things that I really didn't like was commuting to the office every day.
Yeah, so
And
it seems like a waste of time, right?
well, yeah, not a waste of time because if you use that commute as like a time to like set some intentions for the
Or
day,
listen to a
or
podcast
like
or
you can make good use of that time. But like now my commute is just walking down a flight of stairs to the desk that I've installed in my living room, which is where I used to work when I first set up BOF. So in that respect, working from home has been, I don't know, there's something really like nostalgic about it.
Mhm.
But I also miss working with my team and
Yeah.
seeing them face to
The
face. And
energy, I feel like that the energy that we miss is, the energy that we feel like I'm used to having a team around me of a coach and a trainer. And even though we're all like with a very different cultural background, I love this mishmash of conversation and ideas and
yeah,
seeing how we can, understand each other's feelings and profession and just get along. Like it's not
yeah.
easy to, so I miss that you can't replicate that on via Zoom.
No, and like I'm longing for the day that, we can all be together again, of course. But I'm trying to make the best of this situation, and it's actually been for our company a period of great innovation. And we've had to rethink so many elements of the way we work and the things we're focusing on. So we've made a lot of interesting experiments and progress. So there's the working from home thing has just forced us to work differently, and I think some of the new processes and tools and structures that we put in place, I think they're going to endure, and I think
Right.
they're going to be innovations that stay with us as a company long after this is all over. So, there will be some good things we'll take with us from this as well.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Yeah. So tell me, what is it like there in Los Angeles right now? What's the mood over there? I've been seeing the mayor, Eric Garcetti. Seems like he's doing an amazing job, and also the governor of California. Seems like
Yeah.
Californians have really been quite disciplined about flattening the curve.
Yeah. I mean, I catch up on the news, I'd say maybe 30 minutes a day, and I try to inform myself of what's going on and yet keeping a slight distance because it becomes very personal.
Yeah,
And that's when the anxiety starts kicking in.
yeah,
But it is, from the very beginning, people have been incredibly respectful of space and this physical distancing. You can see it. I mean, I live very close to the beach, and even when the beaches were still open, there was a sense of people are understanding that this is an important part of flattening the curve. And now the beaches are closed down, so the only walks that we take are within the little streets from our house. But I'm staying home. I haven't really. I have fortunate enough to have a small gym with a stationary bike downstairs, and I connect my TV to an online streaming workout because it's so important. I love starting my days with a fresh mind and knowing that my body. I push my body a little bit. Like when my body is strong, my mind, it just fires on all cylinders. I become creative. I gain a much better perspective, and I just feel better about myself. So I do that, and then maybe go out on the patio and get some vitamin D in the sun. But really staying put, and then going to the market once a week and getting food for the entire week. And I feel like everyone is on a very similar path. And even our neighbors that usually maybe are louder than we'd want occasionally with the trampolines and the drums. Now when I hear that, it feels like a sense of belonging and a sense of home, and I actually welcome it. Um, so that feeling of community has been like very eye-opening.
Yeah, that's great. Well, that sounds like a really constructive, productive way of using your time. Um, so you mentioned earlier that you retired from tennis a few months ago. I'm sure people are curious about how you're going to spend your time now, and have you started, putting any thought into, where you're going to direct your energy? I'm sure you'll always be connected to tennis in some way or another, but
Yeah. Well,
what?
it's the one thing that I know the best, and that I can really relate to in terms of the mindset and the physicality and the discipline and focus. And those are all elements that I hope to bring into the next ventures that I'm a part of. And, I loved forming this type of education, kind of like a street smart education throughout my entire career, and very fortunate to learn from some incredible companies that I was a part of, whether it was from advertisement or from the business or marketing perspective, all those little lessons. I sure hope that I can use in my future. I've made investments in the last few years in companies that I'm currently, in the last few weeks, have really been building. I have a sweets brand called Sharapova, so that takes probably 75% of my day from the day-to-day operations. I am the founder and CEO of it, so we have a small knit team of about 6 to 8 people. Um, so that's a big goal, and I have a lot of different ideas for it. We're in some product innovation right now for the following year. So yeah, there's a little bit of taking a step back as well and seeing the future and what that looks like. And I like this period of time because it feels like I'm retiring at a young age, of course, compared to most, but it feels like I'm coming out of school,
Yeah.
and I'm
Was it
figuring.
hard to make that decision? Like how, what, I can't imagine, like you start, what age did you start playing tennis?
I was 4,
You were
so
4.
I was very young.
Wow. And so the decision to stop the one thing you've kind of known, I mean, walk me through how you make that kind of decision. Like what goes through your mind?
I don't know if any athlete ever really determines when that time is. And sometimes you don't know what's a perfect time and not. And I think as I've taken a step back, when you're in it, you don't really think of what you're doing because it's so natural and it feels so automatic. But when I've stepped away from it, I realized how physical and what a toll it took on my body. And I was struggling with a shoulder injury, really from actually the peak of my career. I was 21 and I had shoulder surgery. I came back from that. I won 2 Grand Slams, and in the last few years, it kind of reoccurred. And it's different having a surgery when you're 21 years old or when you're 32. So that was certainly part of my decision making. And I think it was also a time where I felt like I could bring value to other things that I've developed in my life. And that's very hard to do because I won't be maybe as good as those things as tennis, because I know tennis so well,
Yeah.
at those new things that I might develop, or the skills, or the interest I find. But I like the challenge of it. I like understanding what that might be and the work that I'll need to put in to be better at it. If there's one thing the sport taught me, it was that. So I'm excited. I'm excited of the future. And as I said in the beginning, like at first I thought, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to move. I'm ready for my next thing. I was in the middle of an architectural project in Los Angeles, and then like everything is stopped, and it makes you reevaluate and think, and I'm seeing that as a positive.
So do you think there are things you're going to do differently, that were different from the plans you had before this all happened as a result of what's happened? Like, is there new insights or kind of epiphanies that you've had as a result?
I think the one thing that I found myself in was there were so many like time restraints on everything. And you see that in fashion, but in terms of like architecture, and I have a interior design project that I'm working on, and there are so many restrictions on time and samples, and you had to make decisions like very fast. And I believe that that type of like reactive work was, I don't know, it felt like I was compromising on the quality a bit. So I think in the future, I won't be afraid to take time to make decisions. I know that there will certainly be deadlines which I have to make, but I think in order to create quality, it takes time and it takes repetition.
Mhm.
Um, Another lesson I learned in my sport. So I'll be aware of that time a little bit more.
Yeah, the whole concept of time is so interesting right now, right? Like one day from the next day doesn't seem different, but then somehow the days go really fast too. I don't know. I can't
Yeah.
really explain it. Like, time is just the whole unit and nature of time has shifted for me. It
Oh, I
just feels
agree.
like, I don't know, it's really hard to grasp. And then actually you find that you can take more time and reflect on things because you're not running off to something
Yes.
else, you know?
And I usually, maybe you feel the same way, but I've sometimes felt guilty about taking time for myself.
Yeah,
Like, even if it was at a time that might be, middle of a work day or like at 3 p.m., and I'd say, you know what, today I'm done. My day's
yeah,
finished.
yeah,
And I feel like that doing that now is healthier,
yeah.
giving myself that space. And then also, I was speaking to Adam Grant, a professor at Wharton, last week, and he mentioned how he's usually a morning person, and he wakes up and he's ready to go, and he's so creative, and he's working on his podcast and his TED Talks.
I'm
Um,
obsessed with Adam Grant. How do you know? Well, I'll ask you that later. So what did he say?
oh, you should have him on here. He's
I love
a
all those
phenomenal.
quotes he puts on his Instagram. They're so
They're great,
inspiring.
yeah. They're great, and he is. We met a few years ago. I was a fan of his books. I don't know if you read Originals or,
Yeah, they're
but
amazing.
he's a great writer. He's an incredible connector. Like, he's a connector of people. He understands people really well, and he
Yeah,
matches people. Like, he'll put together this random group of people for dinner, and you think, how is everyone gonna get along? And then you leave that dinner thinking, I had the best evening.
yeah.
But yeah, he was saying how he's changed, like like now he's more creative in the evenings. Like, before he goes to bed, all of a sudden he's brainstorming, and that's based on scientific study that you're actually more creative in the evening, which I don't know if I can do that. I go to bed so early.
I go to bed quite early too, but I just feel like the whole structure of my day is different now. So, um, yeah, I think I'm still most creative and clear first thing in the morning.
Me too.
Um, the hardest thing is that work just kind of creeps later and later into the evening because there's so little separation between work
Exactly.
and life. But that's my own discipline
How
that
is
I
it
go.
with the time change of being in Europe and working in the States as well?
Oh, well, we have like we work with teams all over the world, so sometimes that means getting up really early, and sometimes that means staying up late. Um,
Right,
but you know what's amazing? Like we have uh, an art director that we worked with, and she had to move to Australia for personal reasons. But we just worked on a big new design project of a report that we put out, and we just worked with her on it because she already knows us. And normally we would have said, "Oh, they're too far away. You know, we need to work with someone here so we can work with them
right,
in person." But because she was, we're all virtual now, we're all working remotely. And, it was really nice working with her because we loved working with her. And, distance wasn't a barrier anymore.
right.
Distance and separation doesn't feel like something you have to overcome because everyone's distant, everyone's separated in a way.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah, I feel like collaboration across geographies and time zones, that feels somehow less
Right.
of a barrier now. It feels much easier.
That's true. Feels like people are more accessible as well. And
Definitely.
and you're
Definitely.
seeing a lot of platform doing live, and although it sometimes feels like a crowded space, it's also an educational tool. Like I've really enjoyed listening to a lot of the conversations and the mix of people that you bring on, and maybe that I wouldn't necessarily have the time to listen to or
Of
get to
course.
know.
Yeah, no, and of course this live tool existed ages ago. We never used it.
No.
We never used it. And then, we were, obviously we can't hold any of our physical events anymore. So we were like, what's the underlying goal of events? The underlying goal of events is to connect people and bring people together. So
True.
how are we going to connect people and bring people together when we can't do that in a physical space? So our team was amazing. They whipped together a calendar. This is our fourth week of doing these events.
Well, it's so funny because when we talked, it was a couple of weeks ago, and I thought we'd probably do, the live like April 10th or April 5th, and then I got an email like April 16th. I was like, wow, that's in a lot of time.
Yeah, so we had an overwhelming response. And so, lots of people started connecting with us. And, every time someone connected, I was like, let's do a live. And so it really happened really organically.
Well,
And
that's the best.
yeah, it's really nice. And it's nice to take the time to do this stuff in the middle of my workday because,
Workday, yeah,
yeah,
to take your mind off.
yeah. And also, like, I do miss talking to people, I do miss that connectivity. So it's as much for me, I think, as it is for,
And it is.
yeah, for the community. Like I
That
just,
makes for a good interview,
yeah,
usually.
yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, it was nice. It was
Oh,
nice to chat with
I
you.
love spending my morning with you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. And it's my evening here. Please pass on my best to Alex.
I will,
And
absolutely.
and
Big hugs,
and
and we
let's
hope to
stay in
see you
touch. And
soon.
then hopefully I'll be in LA at some point.
Yes.
I spent so much time in LA last year, and I'm missing it. So
Good.
I'll have
Please
to
come
come
back.
very soon. Yeah.
Yes. We'll
All
send
right.
sunshine your way, though.
Please. More. We've got lots now. I hope it lasts.
Good.
Okay.
Bye. Have a great week.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. That was our latest live conversation here on BOF with Maria Sharapova, the celebrated tennis star and now candy entrepreneur, and clearly a woman of great talent, and she's going to do amazing things. Um, if you're interested in following and learning more about our other live events on BOF, you can check out businessofashion.com/events. Please share your feedback with us. Use the hashtag BOF Live and tune in for our next conversation. Take care. Bye.